payoff. And so this week they wore t-shirts saying, making a statement, you better pay us. But instead of just leaving it at that, Kelsey Plum for LA had to take a dig at Caitlin Clark.
Kelsey Plum believed she could make fun of Caitlin Clark and no one would take note. Karma, however, arrived sooner than a three-pointer from Clark from the logo. Plum's pettiness backfired spectacularly. And now everyone is mocking her on social media and among NBA legends. Everything about this circumstance is crazy. Do you believe that Kelsey Plum went too far in her remarks on Team Clark? Or was this merely a harmless jab?
Are really, really good. So the t-shirts don't bother me. But why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those airlines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines that is the planes are the color of a highlighter.
Leave your comments below. Now, we're discussing grown women behaving like elementary school kids over basketball once more. Drama when Kelsey Plum chose to make some overt jabs at Caitlin Clark during All-Star Weekend. She truly believed she had done something. However, the universe told her not to today and gave her some quick karma, which was incredibly lovely to witness. Since this mess is really too good.
That was a very powerful moment. We didn't, at least as players, we didn't know that was going to happen. So I think it was kind of like a genuine surprise. But the t-shirt, just united front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that. But no, we were just we had a very
that really needed to be mentioned.
I'm trying to make a situation light, okay? But yeah, no, I think it was just all of us getting on the same page for the game. We wanted to do something that was just united and collective, and I thought that it was a very powerful moment and got the point across. And sometimes you don't
not to deconstruct thoroughly. Let's start at the beginning. All-Star Weekend, which was essentially the Caitlin Clark show. Let's face it. Although Sheetha WNBA players chose to make their major political statements since they were unable to play because of injuries. They all wore these "Pay Us What You Owe Us" t-shirts when they first appeared, which is so funny on so many levels that it's difficult to know where to begin. To begin with, the league has been losing money for the past 27 years. 27 years. This is not a brand new financial hardship. At this time, it is mathematically certain. There has never been a profit for the Wanba. Never ever do it. Therefore, it would be like asking your...
Kelsey Plum was the leading all-time scorer in women's college basketball until Caitlin Clark passed her up her final season at Iowa. So there's that, right? But I think we all understand that there's plenty of jealousy for Caitlin Clark around the WNBA, her spotlight, the endorsements she gets, and her fame. But Kelsey Plum, I could imagine her feeling a type of way because she really had a very similar college career with none of that spotlight, none of that fame.
Your parents for your allowance after you have been grounded for violating every rule in the family. When these players seek payment for what they are due, this is where Kelsey Plum chose to add some spice. At the news conference following the game, she was unable to assist herself. When discussing the meeting,
I think what she was trying to do there was make sure that Caitlin didn't get credit for the shirts, not realizing the backfire on the shirts, that she didn't want to be associated. It was on purpose. But at the same time, kind of showing her hand in her cattiness towards Caitlin. So it just completely backfired on Kelsey.
Where they chose to wear these shirts, she had to make the small jab that none of Team Clark were really present for that. Like cellophane, the pettiness was so transparent that you could see straight through it. And the response from Sabrina Ionescu, a kiss from the chef. Her expression fell as soon as Plum said it. She was aware of...
By the way, This is the least profitable, arguably, it'll be over the next 10 years. It's only going to get more profitable as women's basketball gets better, as the Caitlin Clark momentum train gets bigger. I mean, this year, she's not playing well, she's hurt, she's not there for all the games, so this is actually not as great as it could be. Like Michael Jordan, hurt year 2, next 12 years were legendary. That's what it's going to be. So I think they deserve a big raise, maybe not 50% of revenues, because NBA stars, there's a lot of them, and they move the needle. The WNBA...
Precisely what was taking place, and she disapproved. Sabrina attempted to downplay the incident and laugh it off. But the harm had already been done. Everyone in the room was aware that the shade had been thrown. Let's now discuss why Plum did this, which was incredibly foolish. Take action. Half of these women currently hold jobs because of Caitlin Clark. Prior to Clark joining the league, WNBA games were held in front of audiences that resembled relatives. They are currently shattering television viewing records and selling out arenas. To a league that was essentially on life support, Clark provided respectability.
Now you're at the Ritz-Carlton. Keep your issues to yourself. All right? You went from a Motel 6 in a sketchy part of town to a 4 Seasons in the shopping district. Stop talking. I don't mind the T-shirts. I think you have leverage. I think you deserve more than 9%. But it's just misstep after misstep. It's time to grow up, girls. Like fast. Like this is the play.
Attention, and above all, money. Here, Kelsey Plum is behaving as though Clark is their adversary in their struggle for increased compensation. It's similar to biting the hand that provides for you. But that hand also signs your paychecks and keeps your office lights on. /6.29 The most amusing aspect of this whole situation is that Plum believed she was being clever. She genuinely thought everyone would simply nod in agreement with that little remark. Saying things like, "Yeah, get her, Kelsey." Rather, she received criticism from practically every person with a working brain. 3-time NBA champion. And former Chicago Bulls player Stacey King completely blasted Plum for her remarks. Additionally, you know you've gone too far when a man who once faced Dennis Rodman accuses you of being petty. King bluntly stated, "These girls are making it harder on themselves by criticizing the very player who's making all this money possible." King was spot on with his quote. At your most important event, you're putting up a united face while battling for higher pay. Even now, you manage to disparage Caitlin Clark. Why? Examine Sabrina's response to Plum's remark. It says a lot. Awful to see some of these females act so selfish. And someone needs to tell them that it's damaging their league. Boom, presented by a person who genuinely understands what it's like to contend with genuine pressure and win championships. King instantly grasped what the others were contemplating. Such conduct is unsightly and unhelpful. However, the karma train had only just begun. You see, guess what happened after you threw all of this insults at Clark over All-Star Weekend? Our athlete Kelsey Plum found herself at a Nike party. Who, in your opinion, viewed those Instagram pictures? Indeed, Caitlin Clark herself. Clark may have chosen to disregard it now. She had the option of acting as though she didn't notice anything. Instead, though, our heroine chose to exact some harsh retribution. She simply said, "Thanks for the Nike ad," in response to Plum's Instagram post about the Nike party. The boldness, the accuracy, and the sheer savagery of that remark. Clark was essentially saying, "Thanks for promoting my sponsor while you're supposed to be repping under a rower in the most polite, devastating way possible." It was similar to witnessing the kindly murder of someone. This comment caused the internet to go completely crazy. That post soared from a few hundred likes to over 5,000 in a matter of hours. People were either trying to defend Plum or dying laughing at Clark's shade as the reply section devolved into a battlefield. However, let's face it, there's no denying that being discovered endorsing your opponent's sponsor immediately after attempting to disparage them in public is unacceptable. And Plum's reaction to every one of these incidents, total quiet. She did not return the clap.dadn single quotes to attempt self-defense. Didn't even admit what had occurred because she was at a loss for words. I apologize for being exposed as a hypocrite when I attempted to disparage the one that is preserving our league on their own. The entire circumstance sums up exactly what is wrong with the way several WNBA veterans have responded to Clark's ascent to fame. They have chosen to be resentful and petty about it, rather than appreciating the money and attention she has brought to the sport. Similar to whining that your restaurant is too crowded after receiving a 5-star rating from a well-known person. It makes perfect sense that these athletes are asking for higher pay. It is unacceptable for professional players to earn $80,000 a year while working 2 jobs outside of their careers. However, you are effectively undermining your own cause when you openly quarrel with the individual who generates the income that allows for those pay raises. Plum's remarks came at an especially poor time, considering the WNBA is currently engaged in CBA talks. At this point, league players get together to discuss issues like pay scales, perks, and working conditions. Public shows of animosity and division during these talks give the league more power to reject the players' proposals and give the players a less professional image. The NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, has previously stated publicly that the organization is shifting its focus from political activism to basketball. The WNBA should take a cue from that. But instead, they are intensifying their drama and internal strife. The fact that Clark has been nothing but encouraging to her other players only serves to exacerbate this. She has repeatedly stated her desire for higher wages for all. For someone in her second professional season, she has shown incredible poise in handling all the pressure and criticism. And she has given credit to the veterans who came before her. However, rather than valuing that assistance, players like as Plum appear intent on causing strife where none is necessary. It seems as though they are more concerned with upholding a strange hierarchy than they are with really bettering the lot of all league members. From the beginning, the pay us what? U.S. campaign was misplaced. It is just stupid business to seek more money from a league that has never made money while simultaneously alienating the player who has generated previously unheard levels of attention and income. It would be equivalent to purposefully undermining the company's largest client in order to obtain a raise. Plum suffered greatly as a result of Clark's Nike remark on social media. The hypocrisy of an underwear athlete posting from a Nike party immediately after disparaging Nike's biggest WNBA star was widely exposed on Twitter and Instagram. The memes were essentially self-written. Some attempted to justify Plum by claiming that it wasn't that serious and that she was only at a party. However, whether you realize it or not, anything you post as a professional athlete with sponsorship deals is commercial content. It is marketing 101 level dumbness to post from a rival brand's event while posing as a competitor. It was made even greater by Clark's decision to reply with such exacting precision. She refrained from making charges, going on a tirade, or becoming upset. She only made one well-written remark that revealed the whole circumstance for what it was. That's the sort of media acumen that sets superstars apart from everyday athletes. People took Plum's Instagram stories posts about CC clamps as further subtle jabs at Clark because it seemed that she hadn't learned her lesson about disparaging someone who is obviously more skilled than she is at this game. The entire incident has served as a masterclass in how to handle public relations and professional relationships incorrectly within a single weekend. Plum was able to portray herself as shallow, unprofessional, and hypocritical. That is very remarkable in its own right. All of this is more troubling because Plum is an experienced player who ought to be more aware of the situation. She has enough experience in the league to know how these things operate, how remarks made in public can backfire, and how crucial it is to keep up professional ties. However, she allowed her feelings and what seemed to be a personal grudge against Clark to influence her decisions. The irony is that every WNBA player ought to praise Clark's accomplishment. Everyone gains when a single athlete elevates the sport as a whole. Arena attendance rises. Sponsorship agreements expand, television ratings rise, and yes, eventually, so do salaries. It's fundamental economics. However, some players appear more focused in ensuring Clark doesn't receive too much credit or attention than they do on acknowledging this clear fact. They pull each other down rather than assisting each other climb out, which is like crabs in a bucket. Clark has received more attention and opportunities as a result of the older players that welcomed her to the league, while Clark continues to rise above the turmoil. Those who have decided to be petty and spiteful have largely simply made themselves look bad since Stacey King has experienced championship runs and is familiar with what true team camaraderie looks like. His remarks regarding this circumstance were very perceptive. Failure and dysfunction are inevitable when the team's top star is being undermined by veterans. During all of this, a surprisingly accurate spoof video criticizing WNBA officiating went viral. The league has suffered from a general lack of professionalism in many areas, as well as inconsistent officiating and subpar game management. Public disputes between players only serve to exacerbate the situation. It has been amazing to observe Clark maintain her composure while defending herself when called upon. She has been able to remain professional without letting someone walk all over her, even for seasoned athletes, let alone one in her second season. Striking that balance may be challenging. The league was made even more embarrassed by the fact that this entire ordeal transpired during Indianapolis All-Star Weekend. The purpose of this event was to honor women's basketball in Clark's hometown. Instead, it became a trivial soap opera that took precedence over the games themselves. When seen in a broader context, events such as these demonstrate why the WNBA has found it difficult to sustain steady expansion and financial success over time. There is constantly some off-court drama or political statement that takes attention away from the actual product rather than concentrating on basketball and developing the sport. Deals that are purported to raise player compensation are conditioned on preserving and expanding the fan base that Clark has introduced to the sport. According to the media, the best way to ensure that financial future is not to alienate fans with political activism and small-scale feuds. Plum's karma arrived quickly and forcefully. She was being ridiculed by NBA luminaries, criticized on social media, and embroiled in a humiliating sponsored dispute within days of her remarks. The universe can occasionally teach people lessons about hubris and bad decision-making at the ideal moment. The entire circumstance is a prime illustration of why athletes should consider their words carefully, particularly when speaking in front of an audience. A single ill-timed remark has the potential to escalate into a major issue that harms your relationships and reputation across the league. Kelsey Plum discovered the hard way how foolish it was to disparage Caitlin Clark. Karma struck swiftly and viciously. From NBA veterans pointing fingers at her to being exposed for that, Nike party hypocrisy. How did you feel about Clark's crude Instagram remark? Leave your comments below. Click like and subscribe to see more WNBA drama.